Hey everyone, welcome back to TS Expert. Today I'm really excited to show you how to create your own online player using React. So for this tutorial, I'm gonna use an open source library called React H5 Audio, which is available on GitHub. So I don't really have to create the UI for the music player. So it's just gonna come from this library, which simplifies the process of integration audio player into our React application. So what this player actually does, I have got 4 radio streaming link integrated to this player, and if you hit the play button and you pause, you can see that the circle starts spinning, the logo starts spinning as you play, and it pauses as you stop. So I'm not going to play the music for long due to copyright. I'm going to show what the next button does. You have a next button, you have the volume, and then you have the next channel. This shuffle button doesn't really do anything because we know playing music from a device or like audio files. And this is another radio channels. So back to the first one. So this is what it does, basically plays music through some online streaming link. So by the end of this tutorial, you will have your own online radio player capable of streaming music from multiple radio stations. You can add as many as station you want. I just added 4 for this video, and I've already set up radio links for us to use, but feel free to customize it with your own favorite links or station that you like. All right, so let's dive in and start building a radio player. But before we jump into the code, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's get started. Alright, so I have my MacBook terminal open, and I'm gonna use the terminal to actually create the app and then open the VS Code. So I'm in my tutorial folder where I'm gonna create my project. So I'm gonna use Wheat. So I'm gonna go npm create Wheat at latest, and project name, you can name it whatever you like. I will name this project tsx, actually lowercase, tsx player, and we're gonna use React. So you can use the arrow key to go up and down, React, and first one TypeScript. So what we can do is now we can cd to this directory. So cd tsx-player, and inside this we need to do npm install. Just follow these instructions, npm install. So now that we have app installed, the next step it's telling us to do is npm run dev. So we need to run the app by using npm run dev, not npm start. So npm run dev, and then it gives you this information that what's your app is running on which server, and you have to press O and press enter to open your app. So it's gonna say allow, because I'm using it for the first time on this Mac. And there it is. This is how your template React app looks like. So this is a boilerplate React app. We have, as you see in your npx create React app, you have a React logo. Now we're using Wheat plus React. So that's installed, but we want to create this here. So we want this to be a blank app. So now what we can do is we can come back to terminal. I'm actually gonna stop the app and clear my terminal. So now I'm going to open a VS Code using code space dash enter, and I'm going to close this terminal. Now we're going to do everything inside this VS Code window. So over here I'm going to open the terminal, run the app again, npm run dev o enter. So the app is running again. Now let's get started with this one. So first thing I like to do is clean up everything. So we're going to clean up everything quickly, which shouldn't take too long. We're going to go to the source folder. We're going to remove index.css. We're going to remove this, and inside main, since we removed index.css, we can get rid of that. And inside this, I usually just control everything, and I have this extension React arrow function component export. So this is like a basic React app. Now I have the basic React app and everything is clean. So with that done, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna set up our links. So first thing first, let's get started with the links. So what I'm going to do is Actually we have an asset folder, so I'm gonna delete these files from here because later on we're gonna move our FM logos inside the asset folder. And let's go ahead and inside source I'm gonna create a new file, name it stations.ts, and this is the file where I'm gonna create my station. And how do you gonna create the station? Go to the description, there's a Google Drive link with all the links of the stations and the images that you need for this project. So you can go into the Google, that link will take you to this folder called TSX Player, and here you have this file called links for all the links for your radio stations, and the other file, the other folder with the images, is the images that I've used in the player. As you can see, these logos, spinning logos here. So we can come back to this. Now we're going to use these links inside our stations.tss file, this file. So I'm going to create export const station. I'm going to export all these stations to use into another file. So I'm going to create an object here, and I'm going to name path. So path is your links, your radio links. So first one is Big FM. I'm going to copy this link from here and paste it with this path. And the next one is a name for your radio, which will be Big FM Hip Hop. And the next one is your album art. You can name it whatever you like. And this one is gonna be a path to your images, which is gonna come to the asset. So let's quickly get that sorted. So what you can do is you can download these images. I'm gonna download this one, this, and this. So all the images are downloaded. Gonna open the download folder. So here these images are. I'm gonna get them into this VS Code. So I'm gonna drag them here inside the asset folders. That's done. Let's import the images as well as we do that. So I'm gonna import. In React you cannot simply just pass the images as a path like this, assets and Big FM. This wouldn't work like it does normally in HTML. So we have to import our images above as an object or a variable, you can say. So import, I'm gonna name it Big FM from assets and Big FM. So now this Big FM becomes the image itself, so we can pass it here. So that's done. Now the next object, I'm going to copy this down for 4 times, and actually just not to confuse you, so I'll only copy this down once. So we're creating our second station. Coming back to my links, so copying the link for the second station and changing this link with that, and we can also change the name of this to Radio Paradise Electric Music. Not a fan of electric music, but there it is. So, and the album art for this one. Okay, so cannot find module as a Big FM or its corresponding type declaration. Okay, so here we have this situation where we need to create a module file for the type. So I'm gonna go to source, new file, module.t.ts. So what we have to do in this module.t.ts file, since we are importing images with an extension file name .png, png, jpeg, so TypeScript doesn't know like what's happening here. TypeScript is asking me cannot find module asset or its corresponding type declaration. So TypeScript wants the type declaration for this. So what we can do, declare module and start dot png. As you can see, as I did that error is gone away. Now the error will come again when I do the JPEG file, so I will show you how to do that. Import radio paradise from asset, and as you can see, it's not showing here because I only declared the PNG extension here. So what I have to do is I have to manually write it down, radio, because IntelliSense is not working. Radio paradise, and now it will say cannot find module or its corresponding type declaration. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna copy this down, change this to JPEG, and let's try again. There it is. Now it's available. So this radio paradise is an image that will go to album art of the second radio station. So radio paradise is done. Now I'm gonna copy this down, this whole object, one more time for the next radio station, which will be KEXP, and I'm gonna copy this link, paste it here, replace this link with that, and name this KEXP 90.3 FM. Now we need to import the cover art for this, so let's import KEXP from asset, and here it is. So this become this. Now one last time we copy this whole object down, and we copy our last link from here, which is Radio Swift Jazz, and the name of this radio is Radio Swiss Jazz. It just says that it's Radio Swiss Jazz, and then we have to do the image as well. So import Radio Jazz from assets Swiss Jazz, replace this Radio Jazz. So that's done, and this is pretty much all our stations done, and now we have exported this, so this station holds all these objects. We have got our images, we have got our links, we have got our stations ready, we have got our module file declared, and what we can do next is we can create our music player. So I'm gonna create a folder here. Always create your components in a folder that's called components. Although this is only gonna have one component, but still for better practices we need this. So we have assets, components, new file, music player, or I'll just name it player.tsx. RAFC React arrow function component is called. Give me the boilerplate for the whole React component, and inside this what we're gonna do in our player component, we're gonna go back to our link here, and I want you to click on this. I already have it open here, but I want to see if it's working. So you can click on this link, it will bring you to this GitHub library or open source code, which is the music player that we're gonna use, as I talked in the beginning of the video. So we're gonna actually use this npm react audio player. So we're gonna install this library into our code, and I'm gonna split the terminal, npm audio player, checking my package.json. It's installed. There's one more thing we need to install is npm install styled components to style our music player. So that's also added, and now I can close this terminal. Can actually close the whole terminal, close this file. So inside the music player, what we're gonna use is we're gonna import that audio player, import audio player from the library we added was React audio player, and then we also need to import its CSS. So we can import react player slash library slash styles dot css, import react audio player slash library slash styles dot css. Yep, so we got that right. Sorry, just trying to make it nicer. And let's try see if the player actually working. So I'm gonna come up here and call the audio player self-closing tag, and app.tsx is the only one that's rendering here, so we're gonna render this player inside our app component. So let's get rid of that, call player component inside this. So now this components is getting rendered inside app component, and app components is actually getting rendered inside our index.main.tsx here. So as you can see, the player is already there, but now we just need to manipulate it to make it look like this. So let's work on that one now. Now that we have the audio player here, what I want you to do is let's import our station. First we're gonna make this player work, then we're gonna do the style. So I'm gonna import stations from station. Oh, I even spelled this wrong. Come on, apologies for this. I'm gonna change this file name to stations, and this one to stations. Alright, so now that I have imported the stations, what we can do is come down here. I'm gonna get that station link to test that if they are even working. So const, gonna declare useState variable here, station, set station. So you can either do useState here, or you can just use, what I like to do is react, since you already put a react up here, so react.useState, and it will be 0, because at the starting we don't want to play anything unless the play button is pressed. So stations got that. Now let's check if the link is actually working. So we're gonna come down to the audio player, and now we're gonna pass it some the value that it holds. So if you come down to this GitHub link, you can see that this audio player has some properties. It can have a source to play the music directly. It can have autoplay option. It can have all these different props. So we go back to our music player. It doesn't do anything at the moment. Volume is working, but we can't tell because we're not playing anything at the moment. Alright, so what we're gonna wanna do is now we're gonna test our radio links, all these links, if they are actually working as they are in this project over here. So come back to the code. What I'm gonna do actually, as you can see, I've got this imported, these stations from here imported as station here, and I've also named my useState variable station, so they are actually the same name, which may cause error. So I'm gonna change this to stations, and this keep it as station, and I'm gonna pass the source here. So we're gonna pass this stations, and then pass the station as an array. So this goes as array, and then we're gonna use dot, and then we can pass it the path. So that's how we are passing it to the path. And what else we can do with it? If we can, wait, did you mean stations? So we have to rename this here as well, because I exported as station. So let's try that again. Dot, as you can see, as I press dot, it has now access to all these three different objects that has inside the stations object. So path, we're gonna pass it the path, and now we're gonna come back to our player. As you can see, so it's working now. So right now it's only play button is working because we haven't implemented the next and previous station. We just passed the station source to the audio player. So if you refresh it, you play it, and volume is working. So we know that our first link is actually working, but we don't know if our second link is working. So we're gonna actually implement the next buttons and the previous buttons. So we need to create some function for that. So in order to do that, what we're gonna do is we are gonna come up here, create, I'll comment it out for you, next station. So this function is gonna be responsible to handle the next station functionality. So whenever user click on next button, this function will get triggered and it will change the station. So I'm gonna name it const handle click next, and obviously it will be an arrow function. And over here we're gonna use this useState function. So set station to current track all stations, and then current track, if it's less than stations dot length, take away 1, then current track plus 1, else 0. So now we have got that. Let's do the second function for previous station. Const handle click previous. Again, arrow function, it's pretty much same as that. So set station to current track. Function will have current track is equal to 0, then stations dot length will be -1. So we'll come back to the previous one, else current track take away 1. So with that done, now we can pass it another prop, which is the on click event. So we can pass it on click next. So when we click on the next button, we want it to pass this function. So that's done. And on click previous, we want it to pass handle click previous function. So these two functions are now implemented. Let's test it. Not working. Okay, so it's not working. Show skip controls. Okay, so that was the reason. These are fast forward buttons shown by default. The skip buttons, I just enabled it now. So as you can see, before I had these, I was playing the music and I'm trying to click next. Since these are not the next button, these are fast forward buttons for your audio tracks if you have like audio files installed in your database or in your project file. So what we're gonna do, we have to call this another prop called show skip controls. So these are the skip controls. Now I can play it. I can go to the next station. Let's see, it's playing. Our third station, it's working. And our last one. So all 4 stations are working fine. Now we need to remove these fast forward or previous rewind buttons. So let's do that. Show, what are these called? Show jump control, show skip control. this should be up here on the props. So we have play, pause, rewind, forward, volume up, toggle up. Show skip controls. So these are the ones, as you can see, show jump controls. These are rewind and forward buttons. So we can copy this and I can put it here. We can call it and give it false. Let's test it. There you go. Next. Yep, working perfectly fine. Volume's working. So that's done. But for now, as you can see, our volume is not filled. We can have another prop which is show filled volume true, and you can see the volume is now a filled one. So with that done, what the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna style this music player to make it look like our published version like this, and we're also gonna create an album art for this that spins along with that. So with that done, let's move on to the CSS part now, and we're also gonna implement a functionality where you can actually rotate the album art when you hit play and pause it when you hit stop it from spinning when you actually hit the pause button. So with that done, let's move on to the next part. So since we already imported styled component, I am gonna call import styled from styled components, and I'm gonna style this quickly. So const wrapper styled dot div. So I'm gonna treat this as a div, this whole div, and I'm gonna replace it with wrapper. So now all the styles that I'm gonna apply over here all the styles I'm going to create here will apply to everything within this wrapper. So first thing first, let's go display flex. Usually I just post a CSS into the Google Drive link, but since there's not much CSS, I'm just gonna quickly do it. Justify content center, align items center, flex direction column, and I'll give it a height of 100 vertical height. So we want to hide a progress bar. So what we can do is we have to access a class on the audio player which is RHAP under progress container and display none. So as you can see, that's gone, and we have to apply some style inline to this audio player. So I'm gonna create a style prop here which will take border, bottom, right radius 20 pixels, comma, border, bottom left radius also 20 pixels. Just gonna do that. So that's the only style I'm applying it to now. What we need to do now next is I'm gonna apply a class here, because right now I just have an audio player here, but I need to create an div or a section where I can actually show the album art. So in order to do that, inside this wrapper I'm going to create a class called player, and I'm going to wrap this inside player. So wrapper, and then wrapper, this div player class is a child of the wrapper. So with that done, inside the player I'm gonna actually create another class, and I'm gonna name it cover. So dot cover, and inside this an image source which we're gonna get. Where we're gonna get this image source, we're not gonna display these images from our asset folder. Actually we're gonna display the images along with the actual station that's playing right now. So if we are playing a station from the source that coming from here, let's say if we're playing this path, then we want to show this image. If we are playing this path, then should render this image. So based on the current station, your image should be rendered as well. So how do we do that? We're gonna do stations just like we did the path, and open the array element, station dot album art, and I'll give album art. So just checking that, as you can see already I have this here. Now I change it to the next one, here, but then you can see the image doesn't have a fixed property, so it's just playing along on my whole web UI. This one is a small image, so it's occupying less area, so we need to give it some styles as well. So are we gonna do that? We're gonna come down here. After this, I'm gonna use the player class first. So I'm gonna style our music player to give it a background class. So text align center, aligning everything inside the center of this class. Background color will be Alice blue. Border radius 20 pixels as well, and we're gonna give it a box shadow 0.3 rem. Sorry, my bad, what I just did here. 0.3 and 8 rem. The color is 8707 F7. So we already got that nice background effect already here, and next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna style our cover. So give it a margin from bottom of 1 rem, which is equal to I think 16 pixels. Padding 20 pixels inside the cover. Now what we can do inside our style components when we styling our app, as you can see, div is the parent and it has image. How I can style the image within that class, I can select image, give it a height of 300 pixels, border radius, border radius of 300 pixels, and a box shadow effect to that as well. So this box shadow will be 1 pixel, and 1 rem, or I can just say 16 pixel, and will be just black. So as you can see, it's already coming alive as this one. So it's already there, but we need to do is need to give it a background of black. Well, first, before we do that, we need to come to app.css. Alright, we have some things here that we didn't change. So if we go to the app.css, I'm gonna delete everything from here, give it some global style, which will be margin, it's not 8, it's star, margin 0, padding 0, box sizing border box, and we're gonna give app class a background color of just black, and we'll give this a class name app, and we'll import the CSS file here. Import app.css. So as you can see, we have got it here, but we still seeing We're still missing a few things here, which is, if you compare to this, there's no name for the player first, and I think the second one is the logo. So logo is not spinning at the moment. If you check this one, it's pretty much static. So let's sort that out and we can quickly wrap up everything. We can remove this, we're not using this import. So we come back to the player, excuse me, and if we come back to the player, we need to do is we need to display the text. So that will come from the audio player property, which will be station, a property on this called header, which will take string literals. I will call it now playing stations, again array stations dot name. So let's check it out. So this is our one, this is the published version. Now we have the name here, so I'm gonna play it one more time. Yep, so we got the name. Now the last thing we are missing is spinning the album art. So let's quickly do that. And how do we actually spin image in that? We obviously gonna need keyframes in here, and not the last thing, actually we also need the logo to spin along when you play the station or pause the station. So first thing first, let's actually try to spin the logo. So what we can do with that is I'm gonna give this image here a keyframe here at, so remember keyframes, identifier will be spinner, and I will start from 0%. Please transform, rotate 0 degree, and then we'll just copy this down, and at 100% I want it to rotate 360, no 3600, sorry. So that's done, and now we're gonna call this in here. You can see the image is spinning. So this is, we're just gonna do it now because that's the last thing now. So we have a logo spinning, but you can see it's just consistently spinning. Even if I go to next, and it doesn't stop when I pause the music, but we want it to work like this. So let's see how we can do that. In order to do that, we're gonna have another use state variable to control the flow of that. So const is playing set is playing react dot use state, and by default we don't want it to spin. We only want the album art to spin when we click the play button. So by default it's gonna be false. Now let's create a use state hook here controlling the album art spin. So I'm gonna have a use state hook here, react dot use effect actually. Inside this I'm gonna have const a function that will handle play and pause. So const handle play, which will set is playing this one to true when this function get triggered, so true. Handle pause, we'll set it to false again. And now we're gonna do a little bit of JavaScript here. So document dot add event listener on audio play handle play function false handle false function. And then what we're going to return here is these two. But what we're going to do with this, when we do that, we are going to remove event listener, remove event listener, and let's give it an empty error dependency so the component just mount only once. So with that done, what we need to do is we're going to conditionally render the class here, and we also need to pass some props here. So this class cover is now gonna be rendered conditionally with the spin class that I created here before. So what I'm gonna do is create that spin class again. So bring the end dot spin and image here and move this down to that. So that's done, and we can come to the cover class. Let's remove this and let's conditionally render this class here. So we have cover, and when we have is playing, then we want to render the spin class, else we want nothing. So that's done. Now we need to pass it another prop to our audio player, which are the custom events for play and pause, which we created here. So these are the custom events we created. Now let's emit it here. So on play document dot dispatch event. We're gonna give it a new event, pass it audio, whatever we named it up here, we named it audio play and pause, right? So this one is audio play. Sorry, there's a space here, and copy it down again on pause. Audio pause. So that's done. We just have a check everything is there. I think that's pretty much it with this implementation. We can test it now. So this is our demo version that we used. So this is our current version. So let's try to play it. There you go. So this is working. Pause stops the logo from spinning. Next button starts the automatic play and the logo starts spinning. Next logo starts spinning, we can pause the video, the logo stops spinning, and it looks exactly like this one. So let's bring it back to this one so we can see. Oh, there's another property I've added to this, so you can see that album art becomes a little bit bigger. I just realized that I have that. So there's another property you can add to this CSS class here, which is our image. So if I come down here, I can just add it, transform scale probably 0.9, 0.9. Let's see. So this is the transform scale, which is not working on this one. Transform, okay, my bad. So here it is. You play it, it becomes a little bit bigger. You pause it, it goes down, just like that. So now we have matched our current version with the demo version, and it looks exactly like this. I hope you guys got everything right. If you don't, please let me know in the comment section. Let's test it again. So everything is working perfectly fine. We have got everything wrapped up. So what we actually did, we created a TS file where we actually created our radio links and album art and everything that we're gonna use in our project. Then we created a player and we imported this GitHub project, GitHub open source library called H5 audio player, and then we passed it the props as you can see on the documentation here. And with that everything, we use the use effect hook to control the play and pause. We use our click handle functions to handle the next and previous songs, station, sorry, and everything is here. I'm just gonna align it properly so this document get formatted. We styled our app using the style component, so that's right in front of you. So that's it for this project, guys. Thank you so much for sticking up till the end. Really appreciate you guys watching the video and sharing with your friends, and hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with more projects. I'll probably create these projects in React Native as well. So what I'm thinking is I will do is, if I create a project in React Web, I will create the same project in the React Native in the mobile development. So to stay up to date and learn how to use React Native as well, please hit the subscribe button and share the channel with your colleagues and friends who are beginners or who are still learning. And keep coding, guys. Thank you so much. Until next video.